Every morning. Your mind wakes up to fight 35 battles before you go to bed. And somehow society expects you to feel energetic at the end of it all. From the moment your eyes open, your brain starts making decisions. Snooze or get up. Coffee or tea. This shirt or that one. This route or that route. Each choice burns mental fuel that you'll never get back. But nobody talks about this invisible energy crisis happening inside your head. We understand that athletes need recovery time between games, that muscles need rest between workouts. But we've convinced ourselves that the human mind should operate like a machine that never breaks down. The result is a generation of people calling themselves lazy when they're actually mentally exhausted from fighting a war that nobody else can see. Your procrastination isn't a character flaw. Your lack of motivation isn't a moral failing. Your inability to push through like you used to isn't weakness. It's your mind waving a white flag after years of combat without proper rest. The most successful woman in the company collapsed in the middle of a board meeting. Not from a heart attack, not from physical exhaustion. She collapsed because her mind simply refused to carry her one more step. The paramedics found nothing wrong with her body. Her blood pressure was normal. Her heart was strong, but something inside her had broken down completely. This woman had built $1 million business from scratch. She worked 14-hour days and never missed a deadline. Everyone called her a machine. But machines don't have minds that can get tired. Machines don't have thoughts that consume energy like a fire consumes wood. And that's exactly what had happened to her mind. It had been burning through its resources for so long that there was nothing left to fuel her forward. You see, we live in a world that understands physical tiredness perfectly when your body is tired. Everyone tells you to rest. When your muscles ache, people say, take a break. But when your mind is exhausted, when your thoughts feel like they're moving through thick mud, when making the simplest decision feels like climbing a mountain, what do people say? They call you lazy. They tell you to push harder. They question your character. But here's what I want you to understand right now. Your mind uses energy just like your muscles do. Every thought you think, every decision you make, every problem you solve burns mental fuel. And just like your body, your mind can run out of gas. The difference is when your mind is empty, you can't see it. There's no gauge on your forehead showing your mental energy levels. Think about this for a moment. From the second you wake up, your mind starts working. Should I hit snooze or get up? What should I wear? What's the weather like? Coffee or tea? Which route to work? And that's just the first 10 minutes of your day. By the time you've been awake for an hour, your mind has already made hundreds of micro decisions, each one taking a little bit of your mental energy. But it doesn't stop there. Your mind is also processing emotions. It's dealing with that argument you had yesterday. It's worrying about that presentation next week. It's trying to figure out how to pay those bills. It's managing your relationships, your goals, your fears, your hopes. All of this is happening simultaneously, like a computer running 50 programs at once. Most people don't realize that thinking is work, real work. Scientists have proven that your brain uses 20% of your total energy even when you're just sitting still. That's more energy than your heart uses, more than your lungs. Your brain is the most energy-hungry organ in your body. And yet we treat it like it should run forever without maintenance. There was a brilliant student I knew who suddenly couldn't get out of bed. Not because she was physically sick, not because she didn't care about her studies. She had been the top of her class for 3 years straight. But one morning, her mind just said no. She described it to me like this. It felt like someone had unplugged my brain. I knew what I needed to do, but the connection between knowing and doing was completely severed. Her parents called her lazy. Her friends said she was making excuses. Even she began to believe there was something wrong with her character. But there wasn't. Her mind had been carrying the weight of perfectionism for so long that it finally buckled under the pressure. This is what happens when we misunderstand mental exhaustion. We attack the person instead of addressing the problem. We shame them instead of helping them recover. We pile more pressure on a mind that's already overloaded. Your mind doesn't get tired because you're weak. It gets tired because it's been strong for too long. It gets tired because you've been asking it to solve problems that have no clear solutions. It gets tired because you've been feeding it stress instead of peace, anxiety instead of rest, chaos instead of clarity. But here's the thing that nobody talks about. Mental tiredness doesn't look like physical tiredness. When your body's tired, you stop moving. When your mind is tired, it keeps running. But it runs in circles. It obsesses over small problems. It replays the same worries over and over. It creates worst-case scenarios that may never happen. A tired mind is not a quiet mind. It's a mind that's spinning its wheels but going nowhere. This is why you can feel completely exhausted even after a full night's sleep. This is why you can feel drained even on your days off. Your body might be rested, but your mind never stopped working. It spent the night processing, planning, worrying, dreaming. It worked the night shift while you thought you were resting. The tragedy is that most people suffering from mental exhaustion don't even know that's what it is. They think they're lazy because they can't motivate themselves. They think they're failures because they can't push through like they used to. They think there's something fundamentally wrong with them because their drive has disappeared. But you are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not a failure. Your mind is simply tired of fighting battles that never seem to end. It's tired of carrying burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. It's tired of running on empty while pretending to be full. The woman who collapsed in that boardroom, she recovered. But only after she stopped calling herself lazy and started treating her mind like the powerful, energy-consuming organ that it is. Only after she learned the difference between being tired and being tired of fighting. Your mental exhaustion is not a character flaw. It's a signal. It's your mind's way of telling you that something needs to change. And the first thing that needs to change is how you talk to yourself about being tired. Now, if you think that signal from your tired mind is just a whisper, you're wrong. It's actually the sound of an invisible war that's been raging inside your head every single day. A war so quiet that most people don't even know it's happening, but so intense that it's draining the life out of them, one decision at a time. Every morning when you wake up, your mind becomes a battlefield. Before your feet even hit the floor, the fighting begins. Should I check my phone or not? What if there's an emergency email? But what if checking it ruins my mood for the whole day? Do I really need to get up now? Or can I stay in bed 5 more minutes? But if I stay longer, I'll be rushed. If I'm rushed, I'll be stressed. If I'm stressed, I'll make mistakes. You see, your mind is having thousands of these internal conversations every single day. Psychologists call it decision fatigue, but I call it mental warfare. Every choice, no matter how small, requires your brain to weigh options, predict outcomes, and commit to a course of action. And each of these mental battles uses up precious energy that you'll never get back. Think about the last time you went to a restaurant with a huge menu. You probably spent 10 minutes just trying to decide what to eat. By the time you ordered, you felt slightly drained, didn't you? That's because your mind just fought a small war between 50 different options. Now multiply that by every decision you make in a day. What to wear, which route to take, how to respond to that text message, whether to attend that meeting, what to cook for dinner, how to handle that difficult person at work. Most people make about 35 decisions per day, 35,000 small battles that your mind has to fight and win. No wonder you're exhausted by evening. You've been a general commanding troops in 35 different conflicts. And somehow you expect to feel fresh and energetic at the end of it all. But the decision fatigue is just the beginning of this invisible war. Your mind is also fighting against something even more exhausting. The constant internal dialogue that never stops. Right now, as you're listening to me, There's probably another voice in your head commenting on what I'm saying. Maybe it's agreeing with me. Maybe it's disagreeing. Maybe it's thinking about what you need to do after this. That voice never stops talking. And it's using your mental energy like a car uses gasoline on a long highway. This internal dialogue isn't just chattering about random things. It's often engaged in fierce battles with your fears, your doubts, your regrets, and your anxieties. It's fighting with a voice that says you're not good enough. It's arguing with a part of you that's afraid of failure. It's wrestling with memories that hurt and dreams that seem impossible. I once knew a chess grandmaster who could play against 5 opponents simultaneously and win every game. He was sharp, focused, brilliant. But after 20 years of professional chess, something strange started happening. He began losing games he should have won easily. Not because his knowledge decreased, but because his mind became tired of fighting. Every chess move is a mental battle. His mind simply said, I'm done fighting for a while. He thought he was losing his edge. He thought age was catching up with him. But what really happened was that his mind had been at war for so long that it needed to lay down its weapons and rest. The constant calculation, the endless analysis, the perpetual state of mental combat had worn him down from the inside out. This is what happens to all of us. But we don't recognize it because our war is not on a chessboard. Our war is in our thoughts. Every time you worry about something you can't control, your mind is fighting a battle it can't win. Every time you replay a conversation that went wrong, your mind is fighting a battle that's already over. Every time you stress about the future, your mind is fighting a battle against an enemy that doesn't even exist yet. The willpower is like a muscle. And muscles get tired when they're overused. But unlike your physical muscles, your mental muscles don't get a break. They work while you sleep. They work while you eat. They work while you're supposed to be relaxing. They're constantly flexing against the resistance of life's challenges. And eventually they reach a point of exhaustion. But here's what most people don't understand. There's a difference between being tired of something and being tired from something. When you're tired of something, you've lost interest. You don't care anymore. When you're tired from something, you still care deeply, but you don't have the energy to show it. Most people who think they're lazy are actually tired from caring too much, trying too hard, and fighting too many battles in their own minds. They're not tired of life. They're tired from living with an overactive, overworked, under-rested mind that never learned how to stop fighting long enough to recover its strength. This invisible war I've been talking about has gotten worse in recent years, and nobody wants to admit why. We're living through the greatest mental energy crisis in human history, and most people don't even know it's happening. We have more information, more options, more opportunities than any generation before us. Yet we feel more mentally drained than ever before. Your great-grandparents woke up each morning with maybe 10 decisions to make. What to eat, what to wear, what work needed to be done. Their world was small, predictable, manageable. Your mind today wakes up to a world with infinite possibilities and infinite problems. Before you finish your morning coffee, you've already been exposed to more information than they processed in an entire week. Your phone alone feeds your mind hundreds of pieces of information every hour. News from around the world, updates from friends, advertisements trying to sell you things, messages demanding responses, notifications pulling your attention in 12 different directions. Each piece of information requires your mind to process, categorize, and decide what to do with it. Your mental processor is running programs that it was never designed to handle. But the information overload is just one part of this crisis. The real problem is that we live in a world that has given us everything except the one thing our minds desperately need: clear purpose. We have access to every career path, every educational opportunity, every lifestyle choice imaginable. The paradox is that having all these options has made it harder, not easier, to choose a direction. Your mind is exhausted from trying to optimize every decision. Should you take this job or that job? Should you live in this city or that city? Should you invest your time in this skill or that skill? Every choice comes with the fear that you're missing out on something better. Your mind is constantly running calculations, trying to make the perfect choice in an imperfect world with incomplete information. Then there's the perfectionism trap. Social media has created a world where everyone else appears to be living their best life while you're struggling just to get through the day. Your mind sees these highlight reels and immediately starts comparing, judging, criticizing your own performance. It sets impossible standards and then beats you up for not reaching them. I knew an artist who stopped creating entirely, not because she lacked talent or passion, but because the world felt too heavy. Every time she sat down to paint, her mind would flood with thoughts about climate change, political divisions, economic uncertainty, social problems she couldn't solve. Her creativity became paralyzed by the weight of global awareness. She wanted to make beautiful things, but her mind was too busy processing the pain of the world. This is what happens when sensitive, caring people try to carry burdens that are too big for any individual mind to handle. Your mind was designed to care for your family, your community, your immediate environment. But modern technology forces you to be aware of every problem in every corner of the world simultaneously. Your empathy becomes a source of exhaustion instead of strength. The weight of unfinished dreams adds another layer to this mental energy crisis. You have goals you haven't reached, promises to yourself you haven't kept, potential you haven't fulfilled. Every day that passes without progress toward these dreams is another conversation your mind has to have with disappointment. Another battle between who you are and who you thought you'd be by now. Your mind is tired of carrying all these incomplete stories. It's tired of holding space for all the things you want to do but haven't done. It's tired of managing the gap between your vision and your reality. And instead of recognizing this as a normal response to an abnormal amount of mental pressure, you call yourself lazy. But you're not lazy. You're living in a world that demands more mental energy than any human being was designed to give. And your mind is simply asking for help that our society doesn't know how to provide. So how do you know when your mind is exhausted versus when you're actually being lazy? Because there is a difference. And learning to recognize it could change everything about how you treat yourself and how you move forward. When your mind is truly exhausted, you'll find yourself staring at simple tasks that you know how to do, but feeling like there's an invisible wall between you and action. You know you need to make that phone call, write that email, clean that room, but every time you think about doing it, something inside you just says no, not because you don't care, but because the connection between caring and doing has been temporarily severed. Lazy people don't care about the consequences of their inaction. Mentally exhausted people care deeply, sometimes too deeply, which is exactly why they're exhausted in the first place. If you're lying in bed worried about all the things you're not doing, you're not lazy. If you're feeling guilty about your lack of productivity, you're not lazy. Lazy people don't worry or feel guilty about being unproductive. Your mind gives you other signals too when it's exhausted. It starts playing the same thoughts on repeat like a broken record. You might find yourself obsessing over conversations that happened weeks ago, replaying them over and over, analyzing every word, every tone, every possible meaning. This isn't reflection. It's mental spinning. Your tired mind is stuck in loops because it doesn't have the energy to process these experiences and move on. Another sign is that rest doesn't restore you anymore. You can sleep for 10 hours and wake up feeling like you didn't sleep at all. You can take a vacation and come back more tired than when you left. This happens because mental exhaustion is different from physical tiredness. Your body might be resting, but your mind is still running background programs, still trying to solve problems, still carrying the weight of everything you think you should be handling. You might also notice that small problems feel enormous. A minor inconvenience becomes a major crisis. Running out of milk feels like the end of the world. Someone canceling plans feels like a personal attack. This isn't because you're dramatic or overly sensitive. It's because your mind has reached its capacity for handling stress. And even small additions to that load feel overwhelming. Mental exhaustion also shows up as a loss of interest in things that used to bring you joy. You stop reading books you love. You stop watching movies that used to entertain you. You stop calling friends you care about. This isn't depression in the clinical sense, though it can feel similar. It's your mind conserving energy by shutting down non-essential activities. Here's something crucial to understand. Your mental bandwidth has limits, just like your internet connection. You can only download so much information and run so many programs before everything slows down. When your mind is operating at full capacity with worry, stress, decision-making, and problem-solving, there's no bandwidth left for creativity, joy, or motivation. The tragedy is that most people respond to these signals by pushing harder instead of recognizing them as a request for help. They think the solution to mental exhaustion is more willpower, more discipline, more forcing themselves to do things they don't have the energy to do. But that's like trying to fix a car that's out of gas by pressing the accelerator harder. Your mind isn't broken when it's exhausted. It's not weak. It's not failing you. It's actually trying to protect you by forcing you to slow down before you completely burn out. The problem is that we live in a culture that doesn't understand this protective mechanism. So we fight against it instead of working with it. Now that you understand what's really happening in your tired mind, the question becomes, how do you recover? How do you reclaim the mental strength that once drove you forward? How do you reconnect with the purpose that used to fuel your days? The answer isn't what most people expect. It's not about pushing harder or finding more motivation. It's about fundamentally changing your relationship with your own mental energy and learning to work with your mind instead of against it. Mental recovery starts with something that might sound counterintuitive. Giving yourself permission to be tired. Stop fighting the exhaustion and start honoring it as information. Your mind is telling you something important. And the first step toward healing is listening instead of arguing. I want to tell you about a man who understood this principle and completely transformed his life because of it. His name was Marcus. And he was a software engineer who had built 3 successful startups by the age of 35. Everyone called him a machine. He worked 18-hour days, managed teams across different time zones, and seemed to thrive on stress that would break other people. But one Monday morning, Marcus couldn't get out of bed. Not because he was physically sick, but because something inside him had simply stopped working. He described it as feeling like his internal engine had seized up. He tried to force himself to work, but his mind felt like it was moving through quicksand. Simple tasks that used to take him minutes were taking hours. Decisions that used to be automatic became impossible for 3 months. Marcus fought against this mental shutdown. He tried productivity apps, motivational videos, therapy, meditation, exercise, diet changes. Nothing worked because he was treating the symptoms instead of addressing the root cause. He was trying to restart an engine that needed a complete overhaul. Finally, Marcus made a decision that terrified him. He stepped away from his companies for 6 months. Not because he didn't care about them, but because he finally understood that his mind had been running on fumes for years. And it needed real recovery time, not just weekend breaks during those 6 months. Marcus didn't try to be productive. He didn't set goals or make plans. Instead, he did something revolutionary. He gave his mind permission to rest completely. He read books for pleasure instead of learning. He took walks without listening to podcasts. He had conversations that weren't about business or optimization or improvement. But the most important thing Marcus did was learn to say no. He realized that his mental exhaustion had come from saying yes to everything and everyone except himself. Every yes to another person's priority was a no to his own mental well-being. Every commitment he made to external demands was energy he couldn't spend on his own recovery. Marcus started treating his mental energy like a precious resource that needed to be protected and allocated wisely. He stopped trying to optimize every aspect of his life and started focusing on what truly mattered. He learned the difference between being busy and being productive, between being available. When Marcus returned to work after 6 months, something remarkable had happened. His creativity had returned stronger than before. His decision-making was clearer. His leadership was more effective. But most importantly, he had learned to recognize the early warning signs of mental exhaustion and address them before they became a crisis. The companies he had built were not only surviving without his constant involvement, they were thriving. His team had grown stronger in his absence. His systems had proven their worth. He realized that much of his 18-hour work days had been mental busy work, driven by anxiety rather than actual necessity. Marcus's story illustrates a crucial truth. Real mental recovery requires more than rest. It requires restructuring your entire relationship with productivity, success, and self-worth. It requires learning that your value as a human being is not determined by your output. Your comeback story starts the same way Marcus's did, with understanding instead of judgment. Stop calling yourself lazy and start calling yourself human. Stop fighting your tiredness and start treating it as valuable feedback from a mind that has been working overtime to serve you. The mental strength you're looking for isn't hiding somewhere outside of you waiting to be found. It's inside you, buried under layers of exhaustion, waiting to be uncovered through proper rest and recovery. Your purpose hasn't disappeared. It's just been overshadowed by the noise of a world that demands too much from minds that were never designed to carry such heavy loads. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not failing. You are a human being with a human mind that has been asked to operate like a machine in a world that never stops demanding more. And the most revolutionary thing you can do right now is give that tired mind exactly what it's been asking for. Permission to stop fighting long enough to remember who you really are and what you're truly capable of. When you're running on genuine energy instead of empty determination. Your mind is not your enemy, it's your most loyal ally. And it's time you started treating it that way.